Good morning, you guys. I'm so excited for the activity today. This week has been so fun because we've been learning so much about worms and slugs and snails. Now, to help us review what we've learned, we're going to do the activity on day 5. It's the very last activity in your lesson plan, and it's the science and social studies activity and language and literacy. Now, the first thing you'll need to do, I'm just going to show you the lesson plan really quick. There's a link on here. Let's see, this one right here, this link. If you click on it, it will give you an opportunity to print out these pages blank so that your preschooler can use them to review what they learned this week. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I want to show you mine so you can see what yours could look like when you're done. If you spend some time on it, if you draw nicely, and yeah, this will help us review all the really neat things that we've learned about worms, slugs, and snails. So the very first page that I have here is my worm facts. Now, the first thing I did was think about what I learned about worms this week, and then I wrote it down here. So I'm going to go ahead and read that to you. Worms are decomposers. They help plants grow. Worms can have 5 hearts. Worms are also annelids, which means they have segmented bodies. Now, after I wrote that, I took my time and I drew a picture of a worm right here. If you don't know how to draw a worm, it's okay. You can make your worm look however you think worms should look. If you would like to draw a worm a certain way, you can ask your parents for help. All right, moving right along, here we have our slug facts page. All right, so do you remember what the first step was? First, you need to think about the things you've learned about slugs and write them down. So first you write. I'll read mine to you. Slugs are gastropods. Gastropods use one muscular foot to move. Slugs also have a mantle, which is on top of it behind its head. And then I drew a picture of a slug. Now, there are a couple things I want to point out to you about my picture. The first thing is, see what looks like his belly right here? That's how slugs get around, and really it's not his belly. That is the muscular foot that we're talking about. That is his muscular foot that makes him a gastropod. Now, in addition to that, we mentioned that he has a mantle, and that's this part right behind his head. It looks a little bit like a saddle. Now, all slugs have a mantle. Here we go. The next page is the snail's fun fact page. Now, what's the first step? Who remembers? Do we write or draw first? We write first. So I thought in my head, what are some fun things I've learned about snails? And then I wrote them down, and I'm going to share them with you. Snails have spiral shells. They are also gastropods because they move on one muscular foot. Snails eat plants. And snails are also decomposers. I didn't have enough room to write that down, but snails and slugs are also decomposers. Now, worms are decomposers too, and decomposers take leftover things like maybe leftover food, leftover vegetables. If an animal dies and falls on the ground, it's leftover. And worms and slugs and snails eat it, and they turn that into nutrients in the soil that helps our plants grow. So here I wrote about the snail, and then I drew a picture. Can you guys find his muscular foot? Remember, it looks like his belly, but it's really not. It's this bottom part right here. This is his muscular foot that helps him get around. Okay, now to end this activity, I would like to teach you a song. It is called the Wiggle Worm Song, okay? And you sing it to the tune of Did You Ever See a Lassie? I don't know if you've ever heard that song, but maybe you'll recognize it when I start sharing it. So, There are lots of ways you can act like a wiggle worm or incorporate a wiggle worm into this song. You can wiggle your own body. You can wiggle your fingers. That's how I like to do it, because then it looks like 10 wiggle worms. So the song goes like this. Did you ever see a wiggle worm, a wiggle worm, a wiggle worm? Did you ever see a wiggle worm go this way and that, go this way and that way and this way and that way? Did you ever see a wiggle worm go this way and that? All right, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you've learned a lot about worms and how they're so good for our planet. And if you have any questions, you can always read more or ask someone you trust who maybe knows a lot about worms. So, thank you again, and I hope to see you all soon.